Hi, good morning. My name is Roldan EEU, and today I'm going to proceed my report about the methods and the approaches. But before that, I'm going to share with you the screen so that you can able to read and see the PPT that I have been prepared here. Okay, just a moment. Okay, so right now, here is my report. Okay, just a moment. Okay. So my report talks about the 10 flexible language teaching approaches and also the different teaching approaches can be classified in four theoretical orientation. These are the structural, cognitive, psychological, and functional. And first, we're going to talk about the structural. If we're going to talk about the structural, as you can see in my PPT, it talks about the belief that language can be reduced to a learning set of building blocks. So the rules known as the grammar and syntax. So meaning to say that in terms with the structural methods or theoretical, this is talks about the process of learning grammar in teaching language on the students. This is the first process where the students know how to process the grammar, and the best use, the best tools that we can use this is the books, because the students may see or may have clearly see what they have reading and see the difference between the grammar of reading and also in listening. So in structural, it talks about the process, it talks about the way of learning. In cognitive, it is in cognitive theoretical, it talks about the perspectives of the language, meaning to say this is the process where the students thinking on how the grammar process or how the second language process, meaning to say that the vocabulary or what are the words or the memorable words that they can get, which maglo-long term sa kanilang isipan. So that's the cognitive. It talks about the thinking on how the process being learned in terms with the grammar. For example, in grammar, in the first level, on the primary level, we talk about the uh, verb, pronoun, noun, adjectives. On that, that's the structure, because we introduced to them about the speeches, about the language, or about the grammar. But in cognitive, it talks about the how the pronoun, how the noun, unsay ginaano nila, unsay function nila, how the noun and pronoun function, and how the noun and pronoun adjectives, the 8 parts of speech being used in the sentence. This is based on the cognitive. Now, in the psychological aspect, how they apply, if they already learn on the structured, they already have the base, and the cognitive, they already have thinking about what is the process of grammar. Now, in the psychological, this is how the motivation, it is the motivation, how the students apply those learnings in terms with the grammar correction, in terms with the grammar process. And in the functional communicative, it talks about how the students deal or how the students apply those learnings, especially in grammar, or how they communicative learning the second language. For example, in adjective, noun, and pronoun, the 8 parts of speech, they already know what are those things, what are the examples of noun and pronoun. And functional, how they going to use that one in their communication. Because we all know that not all students are really love learning English, but there are some that through reading they're able to get what is the right grammar that they should have to use. Okay, so that's the process. That's are the four theoretical methods that we can use in terms with teaching the second language. Now, we proceed for the 10 language teaching approaches. The first one is the grammar translation approach. This is the classics where the teaching language began, a method to teach the Latin or the Greek and was generalized to teach in any second language. For example, we are learning English. We are teaching English in elementary students. First, we were going to translate that word into our own words. For example, in this English word, we should have to translate that one into a vernacular or Bisaya words. For example, if we talk about bird, what is bird? Katumbas niya sa Bisaya, which is for example bird, ibon. So ganun ang ang grammar translation approach. The next one is the direct approach. What is direct approach? It is a taught explicitly but learned inductively by the student through repeated exposure to the spoken language. For example, on the direct approach, mostly it is applied on how to pronounce a letter or how to pronounce a word. For example, what is this word? For example, letter A. You teach the students A. This is the sounds of A. And then you're going to give the example. What are the examples that begins in letter A? And that should be like apple, ants, like this. What is A? How to pronounce A? That is A for apple. B for ball. That's mostly for the phonetic. That is for phonetic learning, because we teach first, we speak first to the students, and then the students repeat what we are speaking. Next is the reading approach. The reading approach, talks about the comprehension of the students, how they read, how they understand, how they comprehend of what they are reading. This is on the reading approach. Next is the audiolingual approach. Talks about it is about the hearing, how the students listening. It's either the song, it's either on the story, which is talks about the audio. This is about the language where the students able to hear and how they approach or how they learn. We should always have to remember the 8 multi-intellectual learning, which is one of that is the audio. There are some students who are really learn in audio. They can able to learn through hearing and not on reading, not on the visual, but through the audio they can learn. So we should always have to consider those students who are who loves listening. Next is communicative approach. This talks about how the students communicate what the learnings that they have, especially in learning the second language. Communication is not communication is essential and rational for language, because if ever you already have learnings, you already have everything in you, but the learning and application of that learning that they have is not hindi siya nagagawa or wala siyang application, then we can say that the learning of the students are not able, wala siyang silbi, kasi if you learn, you have to communicate, you have to practice, you have to teach yourself how to communicate yourself using the second language. So that is the communicate approach. The silent way. This is the silent way, meaning to say that in this approach, the teachers talk less compared to the students. Meaning to say that the students keep on talking about what they are learning. So this is through the facial expression. We can use the props in order for them to understand what you are ano yung gusto mong matutunan nila mula sa iyo through the silent way. Next is the community language learning. It is called the community language learning because the class learn together as one unit. Meaning to say, a community involves many attitudes, characteristics, but they're going to learn in one. So meaning to say how the teachers teach the students with some na marami ang mga learning types. So, but the role of the teacher is that to guide and encourage the learners to continue learning the second language, inspire them that through teaching, through learning the second language, it gives them an opportunity in the future. Now, the functional and notional approach talks about the recognized language as a purposeful communication, meaning to say the language that they are learned is essential for them, that they can use that one in the future, or they can use that one daily conversation of their life. So that's the function national or approach, which they already know how to express themselves through the second language that they learn. Next one is the natural approach. The natural approach, this is the first language, is natural learned by the students. That the process is the simulated for teaching adults in the second language, meaning to say through the natural process that the students learn in their community, such as in their house, in their place, where they can learn their own language, and on the process of the adult teaching them. Okay. Next is that this is the best one that I have learned in terms with the 10 methods. I love the total physical response, because the total physical response, for me, this is the best method that we can use in order for the students to develop these different kinds of skills. The TPR means is that how you instruct the students, how they learn through the instruction that you have given to them. For example, you give the instructions to the student, pick up the paper. If all the students pick their paper, meaning to say that everyone's are able to understand what you are saying. It involves hearing, it involves the speaking, it involves the physical. This is the total physical response, how the students really responds on what you have given or what you have instructed them. Okay? So those are the reports that I hope you have learned, guys. Thank you and bye-bye. Libog